What is going on, everybody in Mask Wild? Welcome back to a brand new video. Today we're going to be doing the full review for the Moto G Power for 2021. Is this phone worth the money? Stay tuned. So is the Moto G Power for 2021, is it worth the money? Should you go out and upgrade if you're coming from the Moto G Power from 2020? And the simple answer to that question is no. I don't think you should go out and spend your money on the new Moto G Power for 2021 because the 2020 version, in my opinion, is a bit better. And at the same time, the current 2020 version is running Android 11 while the 2021 version is on Android 10.
What?
If you ask me, that doesn't make sense. How does a previous version of the phone have a later software than the new version of it? Other than that, you still get your 5,000 milliamp hour battery, USB Type-C for charging, loudspeaker on the bottom, not dual speakers like the last year version. Just one single speaker on the bottom here. A microphone, 3 cameras in the back, a triple camera setup. You do have an upgrade in the camera department, 48 megapixel camera in the rear with the 2 megapixel depth sensor and a 2 megapixel macro lens. And then you also get an 8 megapixel camera in the front. But don't get too excited about that rear camera. The max resolution as far as video recording is going to be 1080p at 60 frames per second, although the previous version was able to record 4K at 30 frames per second. Now, powering the device is going to be the Snapdragon 662. It is an octa-core chipset. Now, looking up the specs here on CPU-Z, it's an application that you can download here from the Play Store. It shows the same specs as the 665. So I know it's an octa-core CPU, and you are forced to only have LTE in this device. This is not 5G enabled whatsoever. Now, luckily for me, I got the device for 230 bucks. I didn't pay full price for it. And I like to save a few bucks when it comes to buying these new phones because I wasn't really a person or a fan of the Moto G Power for 2021. I wasn't like out there with it. I wasn't saying I'm going to get this. I need to get it. It's the next best thing. I didn't feel like that at all because the one I had, the current version, well, the previous version, the Moto G Power from 2020 is a better spec phone. It's more for the money and it came out last year. Speaking of which, this device has a 6.6 inch HD plus display. So not full HD. It's going to be HD plus. You can watch your content to your pleasure. Your colors and everything are going to be pretty nice on the display. But one of the things I don't like about it is how dim it is in daylight. When it comes to using your phone in sunlight, you're going to be pretty much struggling to see anything on the screen because it's so dim. Even at full brightness, the device doesn't really get all that bright. And one thing I do give the Moto G Power for 2021 credit in is the overall performance of the device. For some particular reason, maybe it's because it's on Android 10, a previous version of Android. For some reason, everything just works really well on this device. Powering up YouTube, bouncing in and out of applications. I do have minimal lag when it comes to things like that. But sometimes the device does freeze out of nowhere. I don't know if I want to put that under the lag category because lagging is a little bit different because you can have a little stutter in something and it goes back to normal. Now, coming into purchasing the Moto G Power for 2021, if you are a subscriber on T-Mobile, AT&T, or Verizon, it doesn't matter. It will work in your device. So this is one of those phones where it can work on pretty much any carrier in the United States, whether that's prepaid or postpaid. You have your choice. Right now, I currently have my Verizon SIM card on this device coming from a Pixel 5. That phone has 5G. I also have a Galaxy A71 5G. And I can honestly say that I missed my 5G connection as opposed to having an LTE connection. The power button on the side here is also a fingerprint scanner and it works pretty much 9 times out of 10. It's a really good fingerprint scanner. It gets the job done. The volume up and down keys are right above the power button, and you also have your SIM tray slot on the left side of the device. And looking at the top of it is where you'll find your headphone jack. Now I like headphone jacks to be on the bottom. I'm not really a fan of them being on the top, but catch me a few months later, the headphone jack being on the top or the bottom probably won't be that big of a deal for me because I've been using nothing but Bluetooth headphones as of recently. And one thing you cannot talk crap about with the Moto G Power, whether it's a last year version or a previous version, is the battery life. Battery life on this phone is really really good. Duh, right? It's good. It's a great phone for battery life. Or the number one thing that Motorola was focusing on, the battery. 5,000 milliamp hours to be exact, and it does have quick charge, so you can charge it up in about 2 hours, probably 2.5 hours, a little under 2 hours. Just depends on what kind of charging brick you do have and the capabilities of it. How fast can you actually charge this phone here? Once you get to a full charge, you would easily see about 10 hours of screen on time, depending on your usage. Yeah, the battery life is amazing on this phone here. And if you're like a moderate, super moderate user, you should be able to get 2 days, no problem, from usage with this phone. And if you are an extremely moderate user, you could probably get 3 days now. I'm not saying if you use this phone on 100% brightness, it won't die in a day or a day and a half. All I'm saying is if you're a light user, you're not doing every single thing on your phone, yeah, it's definitely possible. So with the camera upgrade in 2021, how do they perform? The 48 megapixel camera setup. Basically, the images are cropped down to 12 megapixels to give it a higher or more sharp image. And overall, picture quality turns out pretty good. You can take some pretty good shots with this camera here. The only problem is the processing that takes place afterwards and how stuttery the application is when it comes to taking photos. I had to judge it for what the camera actually is. And so when the camera does take a photo and it processes the image, it's usually, most times, more times than not, a pretty good photo. I can't get mad about it. Now the selfie camera, nothing to write home about. It is a selfie camera, it's 8 megapixels. It's not the best in the world, but how many phones out there really have an amazing selfie camera? Unless you got a phone that flips over from the back, as far as the rear camera, to the front. That's a mean selfie camera right there. But in this case here, the Moto G Power, if you gotta take a quick selfie for Instagram or something like that, you'll be all right. But is it the best quality? Nah. Is the Moto G Power for 2021 going to get the Android 11 update? My guess would be yes, because it would look really bad on Motorola if they were to not push out Android 11 to the newer version of the Power device and push it out to the older version. It would just be kind of backwards. Can I recommend this to someone out there? Yes, I absolutely can. It's just if you're coming from the Moto G Power previous version, like the last year version, it's hard for me to sit here and tell you to upgrade, and I'm not. But yeah, with 4 gigs of RAM and 64 gigs of internal storage, a Snapdragon 662, 720p display, single firing speaker on the bottom, Android 10. There's a lot of phones out there that can provide that at a cheaper price. And I honestly say that the Moto G Power is a little bit of a disappointment for me. And I'm a big Motorola fan. But in the comments section below, Masquad, let me know, how did you feel about the Moto G Power for 2021? Is it something that you can upgrade yourself to, or can you recommend it to anyone in your circle? Let me know. And if you're new to the channel here, consider subscribing so that you don't miss any coverage when it comes to budget devices like the Moto G Power for 2021. And Masquad, like this video here so that other people just like you can get a little bit more help when it comes to researching budget devices like the Moto G Power for 2021. And last but not least, share this video with your friends and family and let them know that not all Android cameras suck. It is just not true. But until then, my name is Max Rob. Thank you for watching this video. Have a good day, y'all. Deuces.